Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of appropriate ages, this is the Daily Deucey Podcast. Today is Monday, February 15th. Yesterday was Valentine's Day. Shout out to my beautiful, lovely wife. We didn't do anything other than stayed home with the kids and had a Valentine's Day ice cream cake, which was amazing. Big fan of the ice cream cake. I do kind of find it a little odd, like the people who are married or in long-term relationships who make a big deal out of Valentine's Day. Like I almost feel like it's almost like come around full circle where like you shouldn't do anything on Valentine's Day just because like everyone tells you to do things on Valentine's Day. Now, that's kind of generally how I live my life, to be completely honest, doing things that people tell you you're not supposed to do. But like, if you're waiting to tell your wife or husband how amazing they are for Valentine's Day, like, why don't you do that on any other day? I don't know. We're going to get right into the craziness here, boys and girls. Pentagon admits it has been testing wreckage from UFO crashes and findings may change our lives forever. I told you they're coming, and they've probably been here forever. The Pentagon has admitted to holding and testing wreckage from UFO crashes in a bombshell Freedom of Information letter shared with The Sun. Researcher Anthony Bragalia wrote to the Defensive Intelligence Agency requesting details of all UFO material, which they hold, and results of any tests they had been carrying out. He wrote, "This could include physical debris recovered by personnel of the Department of Defense as residue, flotsam, I don't even know what flotsam is, shot off material or crash materials from WAPs." We all remember the WAPs from our previous episode of the Daily Deucey, which are unidentified aerial phenomenon and not wet physical organs. In the response shared with The Sun, the DIA released 154 pages of test results that includes reports on a mysterious memory metal called nitinol, which remembers its original shape when folded, which kind of sounds like tinfoil, but tinfoil doesn't necessarily pop back out. Bragalia said it was a stunning admission from the U.S. government, and the documents reveal that some of the retrieved debris possesses extraordinary capabilities, including the potential to make things invisible and even slow down the speed of light. Jesus, I didn't even cover that part when I read it. The Pentagon has admitted to holding and testing anomalous debris from UFOs. This shit's crazy. Like, it's coming, babe. Like, they're slowly leaking a lot of this stuff out, but the full-on admission of fucking aliens is right around the corner. They have been able to learn some things about the materials of construction which hold tremendous promise as futuristic materials which will change our lives forever. So this guy made the request in 2017. The article mentioned the anomalous debris from the UFOs. Yeah, see these old pictures with Major Jesse Marcel, like these are the things you see on TV and on History Channel shit all the time, which honestly looks just like tinfoil, personally, to me. Bragalia believes some of the material that is being tested could have come from the notorious Roswell incident of 1947 in which a UFO crashed in New Mexico. The inclusion of advanced technical reports on nitrinol is curious. It's a shape memory alloy that remembers its original shape when folded or crunched and snaps back seamlessly and instantly. This memory medical characteristic was reported by many witnesses as Roswell. So, yeah, I mean, that's crazy. Like, couldn't you, like, make a car out of that just would, it could take a beating, but then snap right back into its fucking spot? However, the agency has held back certain details about the materials, including any information that they could be of alien origin. Stating in the letter, "I have determined that some portions of 5 documents must be withheld in part for disclosure." So, like, that's the one thing that kind of bugs me, like, about these Freedom of Information Acts all the time. They still hold things back. So, like, what's the actual point if you're just, like, covering all these dossiers? So they're doing it at Bigelow Aerospace. The company laid off all of its staff at the Vegas plant last March due to the toll of the pandemic, and it's not known where the UFO material may now be kept. All former personnel have refused any comment, and the material has returned to the Pentagon. So, again, These are actual official documents that are coming out from the government. And regardless of if they black out some of this information, they are telling you that they've worked on materials that come from outside of this world. And just remember, on the old Daily Deucey podcast in maybe a couple decades when the aliens do show up, it's going to be that they were here forever and that we've been in works with them and that all this Space Force and shit like that. Like, that's one kind of conspiracy theory that I had heard and read online, that we already are, like, humans are already spacefaring beings. Each country has their own fucking Space Force that's already out there right now. We just can't see any of it. So we'll see how that goes. But in kind of the same vein as this next story here. Hey, AP, goodbye. In Nevada desert, a technology firm aims to be a government. We'll see how far that goes. But honestly, how terrible, how much worse could the government be? Really, let's be fair. In the Nevada desert, a cryptocurrency magnate hopes to turn dreams of a futuristic smart city into reality. To do that, he's asking the state to let companies like his form local governments on land they own, which would grant them power over everything from schools to law enforcement. Jeffrey Burns, also known as Jeff, CEO of Nevada-based Blockchains LLC, envisions a city where people not only purchase goods and services with digital currency, but also log their entire online footprint, financial statements, medical records, and personal data on blockchain. I'm in 100%. This is what it's going to be like. We'll just see how long it actually takes us to get there. Blockchain is a digital ledger known mostly for recording cryptocurrency transactions, but also has been adopted by some local governments for everything from documenting marriage licenses to facilitating elections. So if you can mathematically determine each vote is actually a different person and it's a valid vote, that sounds a lot better than whatever fucking system we're currently using. And documenting marriage licenses, all public documents like this could be on a public ledger blockchain where it could be verified by multiple different sources pretty much immediately. The company wants to break ground by 2022 in rural Story County, 12 miles east of Reno. It's proposing to build 15,000 homes and 33 million square feet of commercial and industrial space within 75 years. Burns, whose idea is the basis for draft legislation that some lawmakers saw behind closed doors last week, said traditional government doesn't offer enough flexibility to create a community where people can invest new uses for this technology. There's got to be a place somewhere on this planet where people are willing to just start from scratch and say, we're not going to do things this way just because it's the way we've done it. I agree 1,000,000%. And it's not going to be easy. And there's going to be wars and everything fought over this blockchain. And if AI doesn't completely take over the internet, like in Cyberpunk, the lore of that is the first version of the internet eventually became overrun with AI and bots, where you couldn't go online without just completely risking all of your information and devices. So they had to just shut it down. And I mean, I'm kind of hoping and praying that there's enough white hats around to kind of keep that from ever happening. But you never know, man. You really never know. But public blockchains like this could kind of fight against that because everyone has control over it. There is no centralized control over the documents, over the government, over the courts, and that's going to be the problem. Things will get settled and taken care of in public, and there will be no need for the governments. So the governments that are in place at that time are not going to take that shit lightly. They're going to fight back tooth and nail. And, good usually ends up winning in the end. And blockchain is definitely a tool for good. So Burns wants Nevada to change its laws to allow innovation zones where companies would have powers like those of a county government, including creating court systems, imposing taxes, and building infrastructure while making land and water management decisions. The prospect has met with intrigue and skepticism from Nevada lawmakers, though the legislation has yet to be formally filed or discussed in public hearings. Most in the Democratic-controlled legislature are eager to diversify Nevada's tourism-dependent economy, but many fear backlash against business incentives as they struggle to fund healthcare and education. This proposal differs from the big tax rebates they have grown wary of offering, like the $1.3 billion given to Tesla to build its Northern Nevada battery factory, or the billions New York and Virginia offered Amazon to build new corporate headquarters, which AOC trashed for New York, which in the long run is going to end up costing them a lot more money. The innovation zones were a key part of Governor Steve Sisolak's January State of the State address when he outlined plans to rebuild a more diversified economy after the coronavirus pandemic. His campaign and affiliated political action committee received a combined $60,000 from the company, said the proposal would transform Nevada into the epicenter of this emerging industry and create the high-paying jobs and revenue that go with it. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get too involved in the actual weeds of running the city on blockchain, but governments not controlling things is the first step to us moving on. Like, what organization that's run by the government does well? Please name one. The DMV? Definitely not. The IRS? Definitely not. Like, when have you been happy with an institution that the government runs? It's just not in its best interest. Okay, so 3 o'clock, 2:15. We have Bitcoin basically even for the day, even though it did pop over 50 today. We have 48,739, just under 0.5% down. We have Ethereum just over 0.5% up at 18.28 for the day. Ripple down 3.63% at 58 cents. And we have Doge up 1% at 6 cents. Now, the local story for today, Nabisco closing in Fairlawn, and we have people who are saying, I'll never be able to eat an Oreo again. Fairlawn boycotts Nabisco. Yeah, they don't care, bud. Oreos, you're dead to us. That's the message from Fairlawn after Mondelez Corp's decision last week to shut the landmark Nabisco manufacturing plant, which has been churning out fresh-baked cookies in the borough for 60 years. The plant is set to close by summer, leaving an estimated 600 employees out of a job. Workers have already received their pink slips. So anybody who's driven on Route 208 smells the fucking cookies out there, and they make them right here. Glen Rock's football field's right behind there. I guess this is in Fairlawn. I could have swore it was in Glen Rock, but it's right really on the border. In a Facebook Live post, the mayor engaged with residents in a conversation that quickly turned into Nabisco, with many people asking what cookies Peluso would buy now that Nabisco products like Oreos are held in disgrace. I would not be eating any Oreos or anything from Nabisco anytime soon. I think the way they handled this was disgusting. Peluso spoke of the loyalty to the workers. Let's see. Now, to me, it's just about the corporation doing what they do best, looking out for themselves and the almighty dollar, rather than people who keep the facility going for executives to flip a profit. I mean, what is business about? To make money, babe. It's like, I hate when people are like, wow, they should keep the company. Like, they're not going to keep the company open and lose money just to keep people in jobs. That's not how things work. If you own your own company, you're not supposed to lose money by paying other people. It's just not how it works. It's a come down for the company, which had iconic status in the borough, where the sweet aroma of baking cookies filled the streets and made memories. Councilwoman said she'll never be able to eat Oreos again. And good news, we have 5 manufacturing companies that have reached out to us that are trying to hire the Mondelez employees. Let's see. I just think Mondelez has handled this really poorly. I don't know how else to put it, Murphy said. I don't like the fact that it's happening. I don't like the way it's being done and the treatment of those folks who are going to lose their jobs. A plant in Atlanta is also planned to close. I don't even understand what the problem is. As soon as we get to contacting these businesses, we are sending them over to the HR department of Mondelez and also the union representatives so they're aware they can disseminate information to all the employees. So, I don't really understand what he's talking about the way they handled it. First of all, cookies are probably not a super popular thing anymore. And of course, Oreos and cookies are going to be popular forever, but we're trying to turn the corner on some sort of fitness thing in this country. So people just pounding down fucking Nabiscos all day is probably not a good long-term thing. So, I mean, it's unfortunate that people lost their jobs. But I seen even Rick Mehta made a statement about this, talking shit on Murphy about how taxes are running people out of the state and stuff like that. And I will probably agree with that. I'm all for, taxes that will help business give people jobs. But if nobody's buying the cookies, you got to close up shop, babe. They're not going to just stay open to just constantly lose money. I don't know what to tell you. In a little bit of happier news, NBC's Young Rock cast its 1980s Vince McMahon and Randy Savage. So originally when I saw that they were making this show called The Young Rock, and to be honest, it's on NBC, so I will never watch it. Ever watch it, because I think it's ridiculous that people actually watch those television stations. But I was even more turned off because I like The Rock, even though he voted for Biden. But I thought this was going to be like super corny. But then I saw some of these pictures and it kind of got me a little jazzed up a little bit. With Young Rock, the NBC bioseries about the formative years of wrestler and blockbuster movie star Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, about to premiere on Tuesday, February 16th, additional casting has been announced for the roles of an 80s-era WWF owner Vince McMahon and the late great Macho Man Randy Savage. According to The Wrap, comedian Adam Ray from Spy and The Heat is playing McMahon, while Kevin Makeley, 2019's Badland, is playing Savage. So it's actually kind of funny. Here's the pictures here if you're on the audio only version. The McMahon one, I don't think looks anything fucking like him. Now, if they're going for like a goofy, we're just going over the top and it's not really going to look like Vince McMahon, I'm okay with that. But this guy isn't jacked. He's kind of chubby and doesn't really look like McMahon at all. But the fucking Macho Man Randy Savage one is hilarious. It really kind of does look like him. He's fucking yoked out. And then you see some of these other pictures with Iron Sheik and fucking Andre the Giant in there, which I personally think is going to be hilarious. Again, the odds of me watching a show on NBC are slim to none, but I hope to at least pull a couple good fucking memes out of this. Look at it, he's got junk right out there. Oh my Lord. But honestly, I think that's hilarious. I love The Rock. I hope it's good because I like his story and maybe I will be able to watch it. And his father, I guess that's his father here. His father looks like he wore a helmet, like a hair helmet. It doesn't even look real. I don't know. All right, boys and girls, I'm going to cut this one 18 minutes. We're good to go. We're keeping up the podcast. I was told I use a little bit too much profanity. I was told that by a geriatric person. And that person probably doesn't even know what a podcast is or what YouTube is. And they still watch like CNN and broadcast TV. So I do love them to death. And I appreciate people actually listening and watching the pod, the old potty waddy. But if you think I'm not going to be cursing like a sailor on this podcast, you got another thing coming, babe. Okay? If you haven't heard, Deucey's a comedian these days. So I can say whatever the sugar plum that I want, and it doesn't really matter. And I don't have any aspirations of running for fucking election anytime soon. Okay? So, love you all. Be seeing you tomorrow, bright and early. Couple games this week. Got to get off the schneid eventually. Hasta la pasta.